Well, have you had this heat wave? We certainly have here in North Shropshire. My temperature gauge is outside today, which is Sunday, the 12th of July, topped 35.7. Incredible. I remember when in 1960, was it 67? Something like that, 76. The weather topped 90 Fahrenheit, and that was incredible then. I also got sunburnt. First time and only time in my life I got sunburnt. I fell asleep on the beach down in Looe in Cornwall. Yeah. And then had to drive all the way back from Cornwall to Maidenhead, a couple of 100-mile journey on a motorbike. That was a crispy ride, if you get my meaning. Well, it's been so hot that, to be honest, any work in the garden has not been possible. It's been enough just trying to keep the few plants that are feeling the weather alive with a watering can. We don't have an actual ban here in North Shropshire. Severn Trent Water is our supplier. Hasn't given us a ban, but what it has done is sent out quite a few appeals to its customers, asking us to not use hoses, etc., etc., etc. Use watering cans. So, like a good citizen, I've been using a watering can. That's hard work. But it doesn't keep everything alive. So I've lost some plants. My hydrangeas have been a real struggle. They just don't like this heat. Even the ones up under the trees, the apple tree, are struggling. Yet the one down by the house, which is basically the hottest part of the garden, is flourishing. But then it's got to be must be 30, if not 40 years old. The two in the front garden, which faces north, well, no amount of water has saved them. They've died. They've just completely shriveled up and died. I'll leave them there, see if they'll come back, see if they're still alive at the roots, but I somehow doubt it. The big old buddleia, which I had up there, I already lost my younger one this year, the younger buddleia. The old one, yes, that's died off, unfortunately. Normally by now it would be in flower, and it would be absolutely covered in large whites, small whites, fritillary butterflies. Some years I get an influx of peacocks. It's normally got red admirals on it, and some of the meadow browns, various those, and of course the hollybush blue, little hollybush blue butterflies, beautiful little butterfly. Unfortunately not this year. Some things have excelled in growth, I say others have died off. So because that in mind, it's been so hot out there, into the 30s just about every day this week. It's been impossible to film. The internet has been playing up because of the heat. The phone signal which we get in the village is not one of the greatest phone signals in the village. Our local MP is fighting for legislation to make the phone companies give us better internet coverage in rural areas. But because we're rural, it mostly won't happen. Parliament seems to ignore what's going on in the countryside. They seem to ignore people that live in the countryside. just the same as they ignore, farmers, people who work in the countryside. So I feel that if you don't live in a city or a large town, you live in the countryside, we are treated often like second-class citizens. I think in some places they look at the MPs that deal with these big cities and these towns, think of us as third-rate citizens. So, because of all the problems we're having, as say, internet, no mobile phone signals, only when it feels like it, and even when it does feel like giving you a mobile signal, the signal is so weak, half the time you can't, be heard by the person that's trying to talk to you on the phone. It's just not been possible to do a video this week. But having said that, thank goodness the temperature is supposed to drop down to sort of the mid 20s, 25, 26, 27 this week. So fingers crossed that is what happens. The internet signal will get better. The mobile phone signals will get better, and it'll be more conducive to doing some filming out there. I've got a lot to do. I've got some of the flowering shrubs have got to be cut down now, so that they get some growth. If we get some rain, they'll put some growth on, ready for next year's flowering. I've got to cut down, I say, the big old buddleia, which is died off. I've got some hedging to do. There's quite a bit out there to do, to be honest. I've got the big rambling white rose unfortunately it's got to be cut right down to as far to base as I can. Try and start it off completely from new. And try and keep some form of control over it, but it wants to do it itself. It does it by itself. It's big, it's rambling, and it's absolutely beautiful. But unfortunately, not when it wants to take over a complete flower bed. Underneath, somewhere, there's a banana, a Baju banana buried. I think it is growing, not much. It did come through the winter. It survived with about an 18-inch stem on it. What the stem is now, I've got no idea. But we'll find out this week. So, I'll put out a midweek video, and I'll put out a Sunday weekend video this week coming, to make up for the loss of the video this week due to not being able to film. Let me know what you've had, what the weather is like where you are. Let me know how bad it's been. We've had no rain for weeks and weeks and weeks. There's no rain forecast. We might get some rain if it does happen. Maybe on, I think, Thursday. But that is a maybe wishful thinking. The reason why I say it is because the weather app does say that we might get a 5 to 15% chance of rain. Now, we've had weather forecasts telling us we're going to get 60% rain. We don't. Nowhere, anywhere within 20 miles has had that rain. So, yeah. we're going to have to all change the way we garden. What plants we have in the garden. Global warming, regardless of what some people say, no, it's not true, it's false, it's scaremongering. You tell me this is scaremongering. I'm 74 years old. I have lived the years to be able to say this is not what we used to get. Our winters, which were guaranteed to be cold, icy, snow. What do we get now? Mild, even warm and wet, with just the odd cold spells. We haven't even really had a proper frost this year. Or I should say the whole of this winter. In fact, I can't remember a frost this year. No. Here in Cockshott, we've not had a frost. So, yeah. And that was a guarantee. So yes, our winters have changed. They are milder and wetter and more stormy. We are getting higher winds. Our summers are now becoming extreme heat. Lots of wildfires. We never used to get this amount of wildfires. Now we are getting wildfires, not just one or two, we are getting wildfires every day of the week, up on the Welsh mountain moors, up in the moors of Derbyshire, Exmoor, Bodmin, you name it. We are getting wildfires. Devastating to wildlife, devastating to the farming community and those that pursue country life and country sports and the country way of living. The only benefit I've found in the garden this year is the raised bed. Now, normally a raised bed, you have a problem with watering in this sort of weather because it dries out quick. These black corrugated tin raised beds I've got, they are growing stuff so well. Well, I've never been able to grow this well. What's growing out there now and how it's been growing this year reminds me of how my dad used to be able to grow the vegetables in the garden in Berkshire. I was always envious of the way he grew stuff. No fertilizers, no pesticides, just good old-fashioned gardening. Throughout the year, the winter, every time a section of land was empty, he'd dig trenches, fill it with garden waste and various other compostable waste, cover it over, plant on top, and the veg grew big, luscious and tasty. Well, considering that these raised beds are filled with basically the same sort of material as he would have filled these trenches with, I can see now the benefits of doing that. And well, they've not suffered any water loss, they've not suffered any drought effects. They are just growing perfect. So, in any case, I digress. Let me know what's happening in your gardens. Let me know what's happening with your weather. So, I'll see you on Thursday. And it'll be for some time from about 1 o'clock onwards that I'll put the video out. And we'll catch up then. So until then, take care, stay cool. You don't have to stay warm. Stay cool, stay hydrated, drink plenty of water or fluids, and keep well. Goodbye for now.